Alright, I drove down to San Diego just to play the hunting horn, and that is what I'm going to talk about today. This video is going to be in two parts. First, I'm going to talk about how the demo worked, or at least how it worked at TwitchCon. In case any of you happens to be attending another IRL demo somewhere, though I don't know how many more they're going to be doing, especially now that we got a release date. And then, I'll talk about the horn itself. There should be a timestamp that I'll put somewhere. Anyway, let's do this. Okay, here's how the demo worked at TwitchCon. There's basically two groups of people who can play the demo. Group 1 were Capcom creators that Capcom invited to book times to play the demo weeks in advance. This group had their own separate 2 booths to play in, 2 players per booth, and they had a full hour time slot, starting with 20 minutes to prepare, get used to the controls, and, crazily enough, connect the footage to their own personal stream. Then they have half an hour to play the actual demo, and some of these were even featured directly on the Monster Hunter stream itself. Whether they do this part at every single demo, or if this was just a TwitchCon thing, I'm actually not sure. Group 2 were the normies, and that includes me. The normies are us regular folk who weren't invited and had to sign up at the event. At TwitchCon, the way Group 2 was signed up was by going to the Capcom booth and signing up for a time slot in the day. Because this was on a first-come, first-served basis, the entire sign-up sheet was basically filled out in 5 minutes. My wife and I literally sprinted there from the entrance at opening, and we barely got one of the last time slots. Group 2 is given half an hour time slots in one booth for a 4-player multiplayer hunt. You go in, they give you a cute little pamphlet with instructions, and the second you click go, you go straight into the demo. Then at the end they give you this cute little pin. Okay, now for the part we're all here for, the hunting horn. Quick note, I only got to play for like half an hour because I didn't realize you could just spawn camp the booth like K Plays did. And on top of that, I had a bunch of bugs while I was playing like an invisible sacred and my controller disconnecting at one point. So I didn't get to try out as many things, but I can tell you what I thought. For starters, I personally felt like the controls were a bit muddy, but that might just be because it's smoother than before and I'm not used to it yet. In contrast, World Horn is really responsive, but it's because it's almost like a little robotic in a way. Like you can do things the way you want to do it, even if it doesn't look like you can. Whereas the Wild's Horn was a little less meaty feeling, but mostly because everything was pretty smooth from playing songs to comboing attacks. Moveset and feeling wise, almost everything was about the same. Buttons did what you expected, a lot of the tech was still in, like backslamming going forward, and it was a little hard to tell, but I think flick canceling was still there. But there was also a lot of new stuff too. I think we get the double heavy swing from one of the other games, and the overhead slam note sneak that we've known about was pretty cool, but I'd say the main differences were probably performance, echo bubbles, and offset melody. Performance felt a lot different, like in a good way. Playing songs feels like it actually does damage now instead of like just standing there. I don't know how crazy the amount is by itself, but now that we don't have spin to win, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, I feel like playing 3 songs performance beat into Encore isn't like this huge loss in damage like it is in say Iceborne. And in fact, with Echo Bubbles, it might actually be a legitimate strategy. For those who don't know, Echo Bubbles are basically the replacement for the dust buffs in Iceborne. But combined with like the beat of resonance from Rise, where every time you play a song it does a little puff of damage. The thing is, you can place 3 and they stack. And while I feel like for an actual playthrough you may be only trying to juggle 1 or 2 of these at a time since I don't know how long a monster is going to stay still, I get the feeling that for actual like non-TA speedruns for this game, people are going to be fucking duct taping monsters to trees and like placing their echo summoning circles around it and then blasting them with the sax solo. Like, I feel like the damage potential is actually that high, assuming they don't pull a Monster Hunter Rise and obliterate all our motion values for the actual game. Last thing to talk about is offset melody. Okay, for starters, I was ass at using this move. I learned after that you could just hold that shit down and wait, but I was trying to time it to the monster and kept getting obliterated. With that said, I think the move itself is great, and is gonna be one of those skill-based things that rounds out this hunting horn. Yeah, I can't wait to try using it to tank through a Elder Dragon Supernova, and then fucking up the timing and then going back to camp. But more importantly, I'm also excited to try out the other special melodies as well. I did try to see if I could offset melody mid-performance, which is kind of what I was hoping for, but I didn't personally find a way, but also I didn't play for that long, so it's kind of hard to say. It's not like the end of the world if you can't, but special melody added performances would be just amazing. Either way though, I think just from that quick half hour of playing, I think this might be the funnest version of the weapon yet. And I'm super excited now that we got a release date, so I can ask for that week off work, and I'm not joking. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll be doing more Monster Hunter content, especially as we get closer to launch, so if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe, and have a good day.